So, with Cinemacon now finished over in Las Vegas, I am finally back. From my own bed, I did not go. And though I've been waiting around like a schmuck for any new trailers hitting digital, in a lot of places, maybe we're only gonna get descriptions, and that's okay. And the very first one I've got on our agenda for the week is Moana 2. What? Is Moana 2. Because while so far we've had a teaser trailer, I guess, and a singular frame, we now have all sorts of new details, and they are not necessarily what you'd expect. You'll remember when Moana 2 was announced earlier this year with the complete surprise drop of a November release date as well. No one knew it was coming that soon, and it was that far into development already. Although, to be fair, when you consider the actual franchise, maybe it's not very surprising at all that they're making a sequel. Not only was it a smash when it came out, but last year it was the #1 most streamed movie in the world. Had a whole nother wave of attention over on Disney+, which is either a really great win for Disney or really emblematic considering it was 8 years ago since that first movie came out. That's a crazy fact. I can't believe 2018 was that long ago. I was still in the middle of uni at the time. Still, this movie, of course, is a big deal. So with the movie releasing later this year, and the only real media currently available being a glorified announcement graphic and an image that they released a couple weeks ago, I was expecting a trailer this week. This was the one that I was most anticipating, that and like a Sonic 3 thing. But no, now that several days have passed since the biggest event for the industry, at least this season, Cinemacon, and still there's been nary a peep for those that weren't in the room at the time. That being said, we do know about what happened. At the event, there were all sorts of presentations from all sorts of different studios, and we'll cover bits and bobs from movie news from each of them as we go through, usually through the animation lens, because, you know, that's kind of what the channel's all about here. But the Disney presentation specifically went down on Thursday, and considering that happened at midnight on the Friday for me, I at the latest would have expected a trailer at 2 a.m., but I sure am glad I went to sleep for that and didn't pull an all-nighter for nothing. However, when we're actually talking about the event Cinemacon, the main audience is a little bit different. It's not just meant to be the general public, it is for the cinemas themselves. This is a mega event, as much as I wasn't aware of it 2 weeks ago, that happens every year, designed specially to get movie exhibitors excited to book as many screenings for upcoming movies as humanly possible. They're basically combining the movie pitch and Comic-Con together into one big thing. And since I fell down the rabbit hole of trying to follow up on Comic-Con news, I then discovered that's where a bunch of other movie YouTubers and TikTokers go. So it is 100% on my bucket list for 2025, if they'll have me. Nonetheless, through this event, they do usually premiere a shed load of trailers before releasing them to the public. Joker 2 being an example of ones they actually did release to the public, and a bunch of others did do that too, but no animated movies across anywhere. Nothing from Universal, nothing from Disney, even Lionsgate. They've made movies in animation before, I guess. Nope, the complete drought of content there was just great for this channel. I love that. And I could rattle your ears off about the new Fallout show, but that didn't do well last time I did, so animation it is. The only thing that Disney actually released digitally was a new swimming movie with Daisy Ridley, so yeah, cheers Disney. But, if you were in the room when it happened, you were given a brilliant presentation, lucky them. As I understand it, they brought on Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on stage with a set of traditional Polynesian dancers because, you know, his ego wasn't big enough already. And then, I gather after some brief "Moana's great" chatter from the big guy, instead of a trailer, they played about 5 minutes of footage. Again, good for them. However, the details we can get from the presentation have some interesting implications for the movie. What we already gathered from the image that they released is that Moana has grown up a bit by now. It has been 8 years, even if it's not the case for her. First of all as well, can we just appreciate that we don't often see this in animated sequels? Between Frozen and Frozen 2, there's zero difference in character design other than maybe hair is down, even when one of the lyrics in the opening song is, "and we're a little bit older." With this, you can clearly see she's grown up, which is both a great starting point for the story, and for anyone who was a kid seeing the first one, will be a nice touch that she's growing with them. It's not quite the, time jump that any fans of Toy Story had with Andy, you know? Oh god, he's an adult now. You know, for me, The Incredibles stayed exactly the same whilst I grew from 6 to 21, so lucky for some. And in my case, Violet full-on just reset, and Dash went backwards. Anyway, what we now also get from details of the footage is the implication that she is sailing back home after a long time away, accompanied by her pig and chicken. glad he's back. Which, inevitably, she is singing about. The other key thing we then learn is that Moana has become a legend of sorts on Motunui since the events of the first film. Her village is also singing about it. They do love a good opening number over there. And one person speaks to a group of children about the legendary Wayfinder. I'm kind of glad to hear that the huge island-saving event is acknowledged for what it is, because we've had way too many sequels where everyone suddenly stops believing any of that happened and half the sequels spent trying to convince everyone the first movie happened, you know? I mean, we've just had 2 consecutive Ghostbuster sequels run that plotline into the ground. And I guess they felt happy about that because they can bring people back from the dead in their afterlife. You know, like, in the logic of that movie, New York was covered in ghosts. How would people just forget that? Anyway, here, the events of the first movie actually have some weight, and Moana is now a hero of her people who ventures out as she pleases. Though this appears to be literally the opening 5 minutes of the movie, it seems the conflict between her responsibilities at home and her calling to the sea is going to be a more internal conflict for Moana to deal with. Whereas in the first film it was very dad says stay, this time, the water spirits are enacting similar to call Moana away in the second one. Does that just mean they're repeating the vibes of Frozen 2, that the sea in some icy cave is calling to the princess? Or was Frozen 2 just copying Moana? However, with the lava kaiju turned island in mind, I'm sure they're hassling her with good reason. Clearly, big problems are on the way, and Moana's gonna have to head off to either do it herself or even lead her people into battle. What's also interesting is apparently Maui hasn't made an appearance yet. And whilst this could very well just be because it's the first 5 minutes, so of course there's no appearance of Maui in the footage, we know from the first one he's the sort of I'll turn up at a completely rogue point about 20 minutes in kind of character. Plus the fact that The Rock's here to advertise it probably means he's in it. Anyway, that's the details we got from the footage, but not the only part of the Moana universe that we have some news on. That's right, the live-action Moana is on the way as well, because Disney are clearly running out of titles from their classic pre-2000s catalog. What am I saying? They're remaking Moana, Lilo and Stitch, and a prequel to the 2019 Lion King. That's definitely what they're doing. Literally, a live-action remake of Treasure Planet is the only thing that may vaguely interest me at this point. Besides, I kind of think The Rock's desperate for a good gig after Black Adam, and I feel like his reputation in the public eye is kind of tanked recently. Anyway, that's another movie happening that I'm not massively keen on. The movie is not even 8 years old, guys. Like, come on. According to The Rock, the filming for the live action's gonna start before even the second animated movie comes out, which, considering that's the end of the year, that's quite the tight timeline. But if it's ready to film as soon as this year, then it's definitely happening. I don't know, what do you think's actually gonna make the difference for this movie? At least with the older Disney classics, there's a few gaps between them and modern storytelling, so there's always a lot of material you can add and alternative spins you can take onto the story. Plus, you haven't seen them in a while. It's nice to get a refresher at the farthest stretch of, you know, trying to justify them. Moana, however, is a completely contemporary movie, celebrated for its fresh and well-developed story and characters. There just isn't a lot of room for improvement here. I do think this will go the way of photorealistic Lion King, where it will go beat for beat the same movie because there just isn't anything to improve. Even the animation in Moana is so advanced. Is a CG-heavy remake even gonna look that different? Wow, the water is actually real. That's about it. And in fact, I think that would even be a detriment. The water in Moana is so well done that the live-action water interactions may as well reuse the same animation models, at least for the water spirit, but the actual sea, I think would probably look better in animation because you can at least control it that way. I don't know. When the adaptations of the hand-drawn stuff has been as mid to awful as they have been, I'm not optimistic for how adapting their CG-era movies are gonna fare. But it is something Disney is doing, though I do like it when they remake bad original movies with strong ideas, so... Photorealistic Chicken Little, anyone? I mean, that would certainly get the conversation going. Unfortunately, they haven't quite announced that one yet. As I understand it, if you were in the room for the Disney presentation, you also had a massive feast in all sorts of forms. They showed off a trailer for the new Mufasa movie, good old live action, but it's totally animation Lion King content, which again was a trailer I was expecting to see. And then nothing arrived. And then if you're a fan of Inside Out 2, they spoiled you. They, like, literally, it ruined the movie. They showed over half an hour of the movie and then just cut them off. I think that's worse than just showing the entire movie, to be honest. I guess they really wanted to get to showing a certain point but we'll ramble chat about all the info you can find on Inside Out 2 that's not too spoilery. I don't know, they ruined themselves on the marketing there? Whatever. They also did a whole big splay of Marvel plans and just a million pieces of movie news, which is just great for cinema fans like us. But we'll get round to the next installment of whatever specific animated news is coming a little later. As at the very least, that is all there is for Moana news from Cinemacon. I'm curious about Moana 2, depressed about Moana live action, but that's just me. For now, my name's been Daz. Thank you very much for making it to the end of this video. I do appreciate you. Do let me know your thoughts on Moana and Moana, or any of the other news you heard from all of Cinemacon. It's nice to get the discussion going, either in our comments or over on our Discord server. Our community murmurs over there. And on that note, I shall see you in a little bit.